So push your scrolls around and flux the spots where they touch. Now this one I'm going to solder in 2 spots here, and then 2 spots on the other side, and then I'll use my fingers to push the other side down. Now what you can do at this point is you can warm this up, and when this flux dries it'll hold everything in place. And I think I'll do that. Just makes your life easier. So just warm it until the flux turns a crusty white like that, and you're good. Hard solder again at each one of these spots placed with your flux brush, and you don't need a lot, so about 1.5 millimeters long. And place it with your flux brush. And you want to sit it so that it's touching both sides of the wire that you're going to solder. Now, you're really going to have to pay attention with your soldering on this, otherwise you're going to melt the ends of your scrolls. So, you don't need a big flame, but I pretty much use the same flame all the time. Now what I'm going to do is initially I'm just going to warm up this until the flux dries out, all 4 points, and then if the solder isn't quite in position, we push it with our solder pick. Now you can see I've got the flame going away from the main thing, so I'm heating the big wire, but I don't have the flame directly on the smaller wire, so when the solder flows, like that, move your flame away, go to the next spot, and watch these wires. It won't take much to melt them. So now I've switched my flame so it's going the other way. I'm just kind of circling on and off. Yep. I'm happy with that. So now you can either let it cool or you can quench it and flux and solder the other sides. If they don't quite line up, you can manipulate it with your fingers because this will all be nice and soft. If it's stuck, warm it up, shift it. So now we're going to flux the other spots. I've pushed all these so that they touch. And we're going to place our solder at each one. And then once again, both of your pieces of wire need to be the same temperature, and it's logical that the bigger piece will take more heat. There's that one, and that one. And watch the little ends of your wire. If it starts to glow, shift your flame. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And that. Not sure about that one. I think we need to squeeze it so that it touches. That's better. Sometimes when you're working with wire, you can just use your tweezers to squeeze the two together, and then the solder will flow correctly. So look at all of your joins. These all look pretty good. And now it's time to quench it, pickle it, and form it into shape. So we're out of the pickle. Look at every one of your solder joints. Make sure that you can see the meniscus, which is that nice little curve in between the two pieces of wire. If you can't, when you start to form this, it's going to snap where the joint is supposed to be. So at this point, file all of these ends nice and flat, because we're going to form it and solder it, and check your length. I made this 2 millimeters long, so I'm going to have to file it right back and just the number 2 cut flat hand file, and then we'll form it. Now at this point, you don't have to form this around the ring mandrel. I'm just going to use my flat half-round pliers, half-round on the inside, and I'm just going to form it so that the ends touch. Doesn't have to be pretty at this point. The ends just have to touch as perfectly as you can make them, because we want a really good solder join here. So a lot of manipulating. Get it as perfect as you can. And when you have it ready to go, the ends should hold themselves together, so that all you have to do is hold this on your third hand, one piece of hard solder at this spot, and make sure that your flame goes on an angle so it only touches that join. You don't want it to come down here and melt the scroll work. So I'm just holding this in my third hand. Flux the join, and you only need a small amount of flux. And I'm going to pick solder this, and I'm using one large piece. It's about 3 millimeters long of the solder. So heat your solder pick up your solder. Make sure the flame, I'm coming from underneath. Voila. I'm happy with that. So we'll quench it, pickle it, and tidy that up. So we're out of the pickle. Dry the ring off, always. Slip it on a ring mandrel. Use your rawhide hammer to round it up. Flip it over. So now we have a pretty scroll work ring. We can tidy up our join on the bottom, and if you lined it up fairly accurately, you won't have much to tidy up. It does need to be hallmarked. Now, at this point, you can leave this way, just polish it up. You can, I'll turn this around. I'm going to use a pearl cup here in the middle, so you can see what that's going to look like. You could put a claw setting on, so this is the heart-shaped setting that I did earlier. That would make a really nice ring. Or you can use a chenille setting where you put your tubing in and you set a faceted stone on a shelf that you carve inside the chenille or the tubing. So that's basically a 4-in-1 ring. Looks good on its own. I like scroll work. It's pleasing to the eye. You can make it as complicated or as simple as you like. But once again, it's a good beginning. I'm just using an abrasive disc. It's equivalent to 400 grade paper. So be careful that you don't take too much material away. Just a little bit at a time. You can see I'm bracing my hands together so that I have more control. So that's good enough, and then we'll use some 600 and 800 grade paper on it and then polish it. But that's, at the moment, that's all the ring needs. Now what I'm going to do is put my pearl cup upside down on the block, and I'm just going to hold the ring with my third hand, and I can look, there's my join that needs to be straight down from the pearl cup. We can look straight down and see that it's in the center. So just take your time, get everything all lined up. And flux those two spots. Now I'm going to use hard solder again. If you're nervous about this, you could use medium. And you don't want to use easy because we still need to put our pearl peg in. Now place your solder where the wire and the cup touch on both sides. I'll move in so you can see. Too far. So slowly, in the beginning, dry out your flux. And we just want to make sure that everything stays where it's supposed to be. So now I'm just circling, and it flowed. Now you really have to watch the ends of these scrolls. You don't want to melt them. So once it flows, back away immediately. So come out of the pickle, have a good look at it. And I'm taking a 1mm drill, and I'm going to just put a little indentation right in the bottom of the cup. We don't want to go all the way through. And we're going to take our 0.8 millimeter square wire, file the end flat. This has already been twisted from a previous ring, so I'm just going to use it the way it is. You don't have to twist it ahead of time. Once this is soldered in, you can grab it and twist it. But because it's already twisted, I'll just use it. Now I've got this set up so that the ring is held on a charcoal block, and then I'm going to set this up so that there's just slight pressure against it. But I'm going to use hard solder on this again, and everything needs to be in the position where if the other solder flows, nothing is going to move. So we don't want any excess pressure. We want everything nice and straight up and down, and then we'll have a go.